Prologue by Gower from Pericles by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. To sing a song that old was sung, from ashes ancient Gower is come, assuming man's infirmities, to glad your ear and please your eyes. It hath been sung at festivals, on ember eves and holy ales, and lords and ladies in their lives have read it for restoratives. The purchase is to make men glorious, et bonum quo antiquus eo melius. If you, born in these latter times, when wit's more ripe, accept my rhymes, and that to hear an old man sing may to your wishes pleasure bring, I life would wish, and that I might waste it for you like taper light. This Antioch then, Antiochus the Great, built up this city for his chiefest seat, the fairest in all Syria, I tell you what mine authors say. This king unto him took a fair, who died and left a female heir, so buxom, blithe, and full of face, as heaven had lent her all his grace, with whom the father liking took, and her to incest did provoke. Bad child, worse father, to entice his own, to evil should be done by none. But custom what they did begin, was with long use account no sin. The beauty of this sinful dame made many princes thither frame, to seek her as a bedfellow, in marriage pleasures playfellow. Which to prevent he made a law, to keep her still and men in awe, that whoso asked her for his wife, his riddle told not, lost his life. So for her many a wight did die, as yon grim looks do testify. What now ensues, to the judgment of your eye, I give, my cause who best can justify. End of Prologue from Pericles. This recording is in the public domain.
Prologue by Chorus from Henry V, Act 1, Scene 1, by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. Oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention, a kingdom for a stage, princes to act, and monarchs to behold the swelling scene. Then should the warlike Harry, like himself, assume the port of Mars, and at his heels, leashed in like hounds, should famine, sword, and fire crouch for employment. But pardon, and gentles all, the flat unraised spirits that have dared on this unworthy scaffold to bring forth so great an object. Can this cockpit hold the vasty fields of France? Or may we cram within this wooden O the very casks that did affright the air at Agincourt? O pardon, since a crooked figure may attest in little place 1,000,000, and let us, ciphers to this great accompt, on your imaginary forces work. Suppose within the girdle of these walls are now confined 2 mighty monarchies, whose high upreared and abutting fronts the perilous narrow ocean parts asunder. Piece out our imperfections with your thoughts, into 1,000 parts divide on man, and make imaginary puissance. Think when we talk of horses, that you see them printing their proud hooves in the receiving earth. For 'tis your thoughts that now must deck our kings, carry them here and there, jumping o'er times, turning the accomplishment of many years into an hourglass. For the which supply, admit me, chorus to this history, who prologue-like your humble patience pray, gently to hear, kindly to judge our play. Prologue by Chorus from Henry V, Act 1, Scene 1. This recording is in the public domain.
No matter where of comfort no man speak, by Richard, from the tragedy of Richard II, Act 3, Scene 2, by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Peter Yearsley. No matter where, of comfort no man speak. Let's talk of graves, of worms and epitaphs. Make dust our paper, and with rainy eyes write sorrow on the bosom of the earth. Let's choose executors, and talk of wills, and yet not so. For what can we bequeath save our deposed bodies to the ground? Our lands, our lives, and all are Bolingbroke's, and nothing can we call our own but death, and that small model of the barren earth which serves as paste and cover to our bones. For God's sake, let us sit upon the ground and tell sad stories of the death of kings, how some have been deposed, some slain in war, some haunted by the ghosts they have deposed, some poisoned by their wives, some sleeping killed, all murdered. For within the hollow crown that rounds the mortal temples of a king keeps death his court, and there the antic sits, scoffing his state and grinning at his pomp, allowing him a breath, a little scene, to monarchize, be feared and kill with looks, infusing him with self and vain conceit, as if this flesh which walls about our life were brass impregnable, and, humoured thus, comes at the last, and with a little pin bores through his castle wall, and farewell, king. Cover your heads, and mock not flesh and blood with solemn reverence. Throw away respect, tradition, form, and ceremonious duty. For you have but mistook me all this while. I live with bread like you, feel want, taste grief, need friends. Subjected thus, how can you say to me, I am a king? End of No Matter Where, of Comfort No Man Speak, from the Tragedy of Richard II, Act 3, Scene 2. This recording is in the public domain.
To Be or Not to Be, by Hamlet, from Hamlet, 3rd Act, Scene 1, by William Shakespeare. Read in Portuguese for LibriVox.org, by Isabella. Ser ou não ser? Eis o problema. Uma alma valorosa, deve ela suportar os golpes pungentes da fortuna adversa? Ou armar-se contra um dilúvio de dores? Ou pôr-lhes fim, combatendo-as? Morrer, dormir, mais nada. E dizer que por esse sono pomos termo aos sofrimentos do coração e às 1000 dores legadas pela natureza à nossa carne mortal. E será esse o resultado que mais devamos ambicionar? Morrer, dormir, dormir, sonhar talvez. Terrível perplexidade. Sabemos nós porventura que sonhos teremos, com o sono da morte, depois de expulsarmos de nós uma existência agitada? E não deverei eu refletir? É este pensamento que torna tão longa a vida do infeliz. Quem ousaria suportar os flagelos e ultrajes do mundo, as injúrias do opressor, as afrontas do orgulhoso, as ânsias de um amor desprezado, as lentezas da lei, a insolência dos imperantes e o desprezo que o ignorante inflige ao mérito paciente, quando basta a ponta de um punhal para alcançar o descanso eterno? Quem se resignaria a suportar gemendo o peso de uma vida importuna, se não fosse o receio de alguma coisa além da morte, esse ignoto país no qual jamais viajante regressou? Eis o que entibia e perturba a nossa vontade. Eis o que nos faz antes suportar as nossas dores presentes, do que procurar outros males que não conhecemos. Assim, somos cobardes todos, mas pela consciência. Assim, a brilhante cor da resolução se transforma pela reflexão em pálida e lívida penumbra. E basta esta consideração para desviar o curso das empresas mais importantes e fazer-lhes perder até o nome de ação. Mas silêncio, veja a linda Ofélia. Jovem beldade, lembra-te dos meus pecados nas tuas orações. End of To Be or Not To Be, from Hamlet, 3rd Act, Scene 1. This recording is in the public domain.
O Blessed Breeding Sun, by Timon, from Timon of Athens. Act 4, Scene 3, by William Shakespeare. Read for LibriVox.org, by Chris Pyle. O blessed breeding sun, draw from the earth rotten humidity. Below thy sister's orb infect the air. Twinned brothers of one womb, whose procreation, residence, and birth scarce is divident. Touch them with several fortunes, the greater scorns the lesser. Not nature, to whom all sores lay siege, can bear great fortune, but by contempt of nature. Raise me this beggar, and deny it that lord. The senator shall bear contempt hereditary, the beggar native honor. It is the pasture lards the rudder's sides, the want that makes him lean. Who dares in purity of manhood stand upright, and say, this man's a flatterer? If one be, so are they all. For every rise of fortune is smoothed by that below. The learned pate ducks to the golden fool. All's oblique, there's nothing level in our cursed natures, but direct villainy. Therefore be abhorred all feasts, societies, and throngs of men. His semblable, yea, himself, Timon disdains. Destruction fang mankind. Earth, yield me roots. Who seeks for better of thee, sauce his palate with thy most operant poison. What is here? Gold? Yellow, glittering, precious gold? No, gods, I am no idle votarist. Roots, you clear heavens. Thus much of this will make black white, foul fair, wrong right, base noble, old young, coward valiant. Ha, you gods! Why this? What, this, you gods? Why, this will lug your priests and servants from your sides, pluck stout men's pillows from below their heads. This yellow slave will knit and break religions, bless the accursed, make the whore leprosy adored, place thieves and give them title, knee, and approbation, with senators on the bench. This is it that makes the wapped widow wed again. She whom the spittle house and ulcerous sores would cast the gorge, at this embalms and spices to the April day again. Come, damned earth, thou common whore of mankind, that puts odds among the rout of nations, I will make thee do thy right nature. Ha, a drum? Thou'rt quick, but yet I'll bury thee. Thou'lt go, strong thief, when gouty keepers of thee cannot stand. Nay, stay thou out for earnest. End of O Blessed Breeding Sun, by Timon, from Timon of Athens, Act 4, Scene 3. This recording is in the public domain.
Your Grace Shall Pardon Me, by Lewis, from King John by William Shakespeare, Act 5, Scene 2, read in English for LibriVox.org by Andrew Gaunce. Your Grace shall pardon me, I will not back. I am too high-born to be propertied, to be a secondary at control or useful serving man and instrument to any sovereign state throughout the world. Your breath first kindled the dead coal of wars between this chastised kingdom and myself, and brought in matter that should feed this fire. And now 'tis far too huge to be blown out with that same weak wind which enkindled it.
You taught me how to know the face of right, acquainted me with interest to this land, yea, thrust this enterprise into my heart. And come ye now to tell me John hath made his peace with Rome? What is that peace to me? I, by the honour of my marriage bed after young Arthur, claim this land for mine. And now it is half conquered, must I back, because that John hath made his peace with Rome? Am I Rome's slave? What penny hath Rome borne, what men provided, what munitions sent to underprop this action? Is not I that undergo this charge? Who else but I, and such as to my claim are liable, sweat in this business and maintain this war? Have I not heard these islanders shout out Vive le Roi as I have banked their towns? Have I not here the best cards for the game to win this easy match played for a crown? And shall I now give o'er the yielded set? No, no, on my soul it never shall be said. End of Your Grace Shall Pardon Me from King John, Act 5, Scene 2. Recorded by Andrew Gaunce. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. I But to Die by Claudio from Measure for Measure by William Shakespeare. Act 3, Scene 1. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Andrew Gaunce. Ay, but to die and go we know not where, to lie in cold obstruction and to rot, the sensible warm motion to become a kneaded clod, and the delighted spirit to bathe in fiery floods, or to reside in thrilling region of thick-ribbed ice, to be imprisoned in the viewless winds and blown with restless violence round about the pendant world, or to be worse than worst of those that lawless and uncertain thought imagine howling. 'Tis too horrible. The weariest and most loathed worldly life that age, ache, penury, and imprisonment can lay on nature is a paradise to what we fear of death. End of I But to Die from Measure for Measure, Act 3, Scene 1. Recorded by Andrew Gaunce. This recording is in the public domain.
To Be or Not to Be by Hamlet. From Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 1 by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Cornel Nemes in Reno, Nevada. To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep no more, and by a sleep to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. To die, to sleep, perchance to dream. Hey, there is the rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life. For who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of despised love, the law's delay, the insolence of office and the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy takes, when he himself might his quietus make with a bare bodkin? Who would these fardels bear to grunt and sweat under a weary life, but that the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveller returns, puzzles the will and makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others that we know not of. Thus conscience does make cowards of us all, and thus the native hue of resolution is sicklied o'er with the pale cast of thought, and enterprises of great pith and moment their currents turn awry, and lose the name of action. Soft you now, the fair Ophelia, nymph, in thy orisons be all my sins remembered. End of To Be or Not to Be from Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 1. This recording is in the public domain. Recorded by Cornel Nemes in Reno, Nevada.
O Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou? By Juliet. From Romeo and Juliet. Act 2, Scene 2, by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Layabanoor.
O Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? Deny thy father and refuse thy name, or if thou wilt not, be but sorn my love, and I'll no longer be a Capulet. It is but thy name that is my enemy. Thou art thyself, though not a Montague. What's Montague? It is nor hand, nor foot, nor arm, nor face, nor any other part belonging to a man. Oh, be some other name. What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. So Romeo would, were he not Romeo called, retain that dear perfection which he owes without the title. Romeo, doff thy name, and for that name which is no part of thee, take all myself. End of O Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou? By Juliet, from Romeo and Juliet, Act 2, Scene 2. This recording is in the public domain.
To Whom Should I Complain? By Isabella, from Measure for Measure, Act 2, Scene 4, by William Shakespeare. Read for LibriVox.org by Teresa Spencer. To whom should I complain? Did I tell this, who would believe me? O perilous mouths, that bear in them one and the self-same tongue, either of condemnation or a proof, bidding the law make curtsy to their will, hooking both right and wrong to the appetite, to follow as it draws. I'll to my brother. Though he hath fallen by prompture of the blood, yet hath he in him such a mind of honour, that had he 20 heads to tender down on 20 bloody blocks, he'd yield them up, before his sister should her body stoop to such abhorred pollution. Then Isabel live chaste, and brother die. More than our brother is our chastity. I'll tell him yet of Angelo's request, and fit his mind to death, for his soul's rest. End of To Whom Should I Complain? From Measure for Measure, Act 2, Scene 4. This recording is in the public domain.
Now Might I Do It, Pat, by Hamlet, from Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 3, by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Andrew Gaunce. Now might I do it, Pat. Now he is a-praying, and now I'll do it, and so he goes to heaven, and so am I revenged. That would be scanned. A villain kills my father, and for that I, his sole son, do this same villain send to heaven. Oh, this is hire and salary, not revenge. He took my father grossly full of bread, with all his crimes broad blown as flush as May. And how his audit stands, who knows save heaven? But in our circumstance and course of thought 'tis heavy with him. And am I then revenged to take him in the purging of his soul, when he is fit and seasoned for his passage? No. Up, sword, and know thou a more horrid hint, when he is drunk asleep, or in his rage, or in the incestuous pleasure of his bed, at gaming, swearing, or about some act that has no relish of salvation in't. Then trip him, that his heels may kick at heaven, and that his soul may be as damned and black as hell whereto it goes. My mother stays. This physic but prolongs thy sickly days. End of Now Might I Do It, Pat, from Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 3. This recording is in the public domain.
Gallop Apace by Juliet, from Romeo and Juliet, Act 3, Scene 2, by William Shakespeare, read in English for LibriVox.org. Read by EliseDee. Gallop apace, you fiery-footed steeds, towards Phoebus' lodging. Such a wagoner as Phaeton would whip you to the west, and bring in cloudy night immediately. Spread thy close curtain, love-performing night, that runaways' eyes may wink, and Romeo leap to these arms untalked of and unseen. Lovers can see to do their amorous rites by their own beauties, or, if love be blind, it best agrees with night. Come, civil night, thou sober-suited matron, all in black, and learn me how to lose a winning match, played for a pair of stainless maidenhoods. Hood my unmanned blood, bating in my cheeks, with thy black mantle, till strange love grow bold, think true love acted simple modesty. Come night, come Romeo, come thou day and night, for thou wilt lie upon the wings of night, whiter than a new snow upon a raven's back. Come gentle night, come loving, black-browed night, give me my Romeo, and, when he shall die, take him and cut him out in little stars, and he will make the face of heaven so fine that all the world will be in love with night and pay no worship to the garish sun. Oh, I have bought the mansion of a love, but not possessed it. So tedious is this day, as is the night before some festival to an impatient child that hath new robes and may not wear them. End of Gallop Apace, from Romeo and Juliet, Act 3, Scene 2. This recording is in the public domain.
Now is the winter of our discontent, by Richard III, from Richard III, Act 1, Scene 1 by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Cavaet. Now is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by this sun of York, and all the clouds that lured upon our house in the deep bosom of the ocean buried. Now are our brows bound with victorious wreaths, our bruised arms hung up for monuments, our stern alarums changed to merry meetings, our dreadful marches to delightful measures. Grim-visaged war hath smoothed his wrinkled front, and now, instead of mounting barded steeds to fright the souls of fearful adversaries, he capers nimbly in a lady's chamber to the lascivious pleasing of a lute. But I, that am not shaped for sportive tricks, nor made to court an amorous looking-glass, I that am rudely stamped and want love's majesty to strut before a wanton ambling nymph, I that am curtailed of this fair proportion, cheated of feature by dissembling nature, deformed, unfinished, sent before my time into this breathing world, scarce half made up, and that so lamely and unfashionable that dogs bark at me as I halt by them. Why, I, in this weak piping time of peace, have no delight to pass away the time, unless to spy my shadow in the sun, and to scant on my own deformity, and therefore, since I cannot prove a lover to entertain these fair well-spoken days, I am determined to prove a villain, and hate the idle pleasure of these days. Plots have I laid, inductions dangerous, by drunken prophecies, libels, and dreams, to set my brother Clarence and the king in deadly hate the one against the other. And if King Edward be as true and just as I am subtle, false, and treacherous, this day should Clarence closely be mewed up about a prophecy which says that G of Edward's inheritors the murderer shall be. Dive, thoughts, dive to my soul, here Clarence comes. End of Now is the Winter of Our Discontent from Richard III, Act 1, Scene 1. This recording is in the public domain.
Friends, Romans, Countrymen by Anthony. From Julius Caesar, Act 3, Scene 2 by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Cavaet. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. The evil that men do lives after them. The good is oft interred with their bones. So let it be with Caesar. The noble Brutus has told you Caesar was ambitious. If it was so, it was a grievous fault, and grievously hath Caesar answered it. Here, under leave of Brutus and the rest, for Brutus is an honourable man, so are they all honourable men, come I to speak in Caesar's funeral. He was my friend, faithful and just to me, but Brutus said he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honourable man. He hath brought many captives home to Rome, whose ransoms did the general coffers fill. Did this in Caesar seem ambitious? When that the poor have cried, Caesar hath wept. Ambition should be made of sterner stuff. Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honourable man. You all did see that on the Lupercal I thrice presented him a kingly crown, which he did thrice refuse. Was this ambition? Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and sure he is an honourable man. I speak not to disprove what Brutus spoke, but here I am to speak what I do know. You all did love him once, not without cause. What cause withhold you then to mourn for him? O judgment, thou art fled to brutish beasts, and men have lost their reason. Bear with me. My heart is in the coffin there with Caesar, and I must pause till it come back to me. End of Friends, Romans, Countrymen from Julius Caesar, Act 3, Scene 2. This recording is in the public domain. This day is called the Feast of Crispian, Henry V. Henry V, Act 4, Scene 3, by William Shakespeare, read in English for LibriVox.org by Cavaet. What's he that wishes so? My cousin Westmoreland? No, my fair cousin. If we are marked to die, we are enow to do our country loss, and if to live, the fewer men the greater share of honour. God's will, I pray thee, wish not one man more. By Jove, I am not covetous for gold, nor care I who doth feed upon my cost. It yearns me not if men my garments wear, such outward things dwell not in my desires. But if it be a sin to covet honour, I am the most offending soul alive. No, faith, my coz, wish not a man from England. God's peace, I would not lose so great an honour as one man more, methinks, would share from me for the best hope I have. Oh, do not wish one more. Rather proclaim it, Westmoreland, through my host, that he which hath no stomach to this fight, let him depart. His passport shall be made, and crowns for convoy put into his purse. We would not die in that man's company, that fears his fellowship to die with us. This day is called the Feast of Crispian. He that outlives this day and comes safe home will stand a tiptoe when the day is named, and rouse him at the name of Crispian. He that shall see this day and see old age will yearly on the vigil feast his neighbours and say, Tomorrow is St.Crispian. Then will he strip his sleeve and show his scars and say, These wounds I had on Crispian's day. Old men forget, yet all shall be forgot, but he'll remember with advantages what feats he did that day. Then shall our names, familiar in his mouth as household words, Harry the King, Bedford and Exeter, Warwick and Talbot, Salisbury and Gloucester, be in their flowing cups freshly remembered. This story shall the good man teach his son, and Crispian shall ne'er go by from this day to the ending of the world. Be we in it shall be remembered, we few, we happy few, we band of brothers, for he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother, be he ne'er so vile. This day shall gentle his condition. And gentlemen in England now abed shall think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap while any speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispin's day. End of This Day is Called the Feast of Crispian, from Henry V, Act 4, Scene 3. This recording is in the public domain.
It is Not the Fashion, by Rosalind, from As You Like It, Act 5, Epilogue, by William Shakespeare, read in English for LibriVox.org by EliseDee. It is not the fashion to see the lady the epilogue, but it is no more unhandsome than to see the lord the prologue. If it be true that good wine needs no bush, 'tis true that a good play needs no epilogue. Yet to good wine they do use good bushes, and good plays prove the better by the help of good epilogues. What a case am I in, then, that am neither a good epilogue, nor cannot insinuate with you in the behalf of a good play? I am not furnished like a beggar, therefore to beg will not become me. My way is to conjure you, and I'll begin with the women. I charge you, O women, for the love you bear to men, to like as much of this play as please you. And I charge you, O men, for the love you bear to women, as I perceive by your simpering none of you hate them, that between you and the women the play may please. If I were a woman, I would kiss as many of you as had beards that pleased me, complexions that liked me, and breaths that I defied not. And I am sure as many as have good beards, or good faces, or sweet breaths, will, for my kind offer, when I make curtsy, bid me farewell. End of It Is Not the Fashion, from As You Like It, Act 5, Epilogue. This recording is in the public domain.
Amici Cives Quirites, by Antonius, from Julius Caesar, Act 3, Scene 2, by William Shakespeare, read in Latin for LibriVox.org by Liber on the 28th of July 2020. Amici, cives, quirites, commodate mi aliquantis per aures vestras, ad sum ut efferam Caesarem, non ut laudem, quae male homines fecerint mordui supersunt, quae bene simul cumossibus sepulcro abscondi solent, ae Caesaris sorsesto. Nobilis noster Brutus Caesarem ambitiosum ait, quod si ita esset gravissimum eius delictum fateor, gravissimam certe Caesar punam luit. Hic concedentibus Bruto alisque honestus Brutus honesti omnes adsum ut in Caesaris exequis pauca loquar. Ille mi amicus erat, justus et fidelis mi. Sed Brutus ambitiosum ait, et Brutus vir honestus est. Multos bello captos Caesar Romam reduxit, quibus redemptis aes in publicum invexit. Hoccine ambitiosi erat, si quando plebs lugebat flebat Caesar, ambitiosi utopinor durior materies est. Ambitiosum tamen Brutus ait, et Brutus vir honestus est. Vidistis omnes me in Lupercalibus regiam coronam Caesari ter obtulisse, quam ille ter repudiavit. Hoccine ambitiosi erat. Ambitiosum tamen Brutus ait, et Brutus profecto honestus est. Non ut Bruto contradicam loquor, sed ut quae ipse certus scio vobis proferam. Vos omnes hunc olim iure amabatis, quid vetat qui nunc ploretis? O sanitas in bestias confugisti, gens humana insanit, patiamini precor, cor meum in feretro isto cum Caesare est, dum redierit tacendum. End of Amici Cives Quirites from Julius Caesar, Act 3, Scene 2. This recording is in the public domain. Amici romani compatriotti, monologo di Antonio dal Giulio Cesare di William Shakespeare, atto terzo, scena sesta, monologo letto in italiano per LibriVox.org da Liber il 28 luglio 2020. Amici romani compatriotti, prestatemi con pazienza le vostre orecchie. Vengo a seppellir Cesare, non a lodarlo. La memoria del male che fanno gli uomini dura dopo la lor morte. Il bene spesse volte resta sepolto con le loro ossa. Sia dunque così di Cesare. Il nobil Bruto va detto che Cesare fu ambizioso. Se questo è vero, fu certamente un grave delitto e Cesare l'ha pagato ben caro. Qui, con la permissione di Bruto e degli altri, perché Bruto è molto onorevole, siccome sono tutti gli altri uomini di grand'onore, vengo a parlar del funerale di Cesare. Fu mio amico e verso di me giusto e fedele, ma pur Bruto dice che fu ambizioso e Bruto è un uomo verace. Cesare molti prigionieri ha condotto a Roma, il cui riscatto riempie il pubblico erario. In questo Cesare comparisce ambizioso. Quando piangevano i poveri, piangeva ancor egli. Può l'ambizione abitare in un cuor così tenero? Ma pur dice Bruto che era ambizioso, e per certo egli è persona degna di fede. Nel giorno del Lupercali tutti voi veduto m'avete presentargli 3 volte una reale corona, la quale 3 volte ancor ricusò. Fu questa ambizione, ma dice Bruto che era ambizioso, ed egli è certamente un uomo onorevole. Non parlo per biasimar ciò che ha detto Bruto, ma qui manifestarmi conviene quel ch'io so di Cesare. Egli era una volta amato da tutti voi, e non senza ragione. Perché dunque or non piangete la di lui morte? O umana ragione, tu sei fuggita tra le irragionevoli bestie, e gli uomini son restati privi di senno. Compatitemi, il mio cuore sta fissamente rivolto verso quel funestissimo feretro, e duopo è far pausa finché ritorni a se stesso. Fine del monologo, amici romani compatriotti, dal Giulio Cesare, atto terzo, scena sesta. Questa registrazione è di dominio pubblico.
Oh, that this too solid flesh would melt. By Hamlet. From Hamlet, Act 1, Scene 2, by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Oh, that this too solid flesh would melt, thaw, and resolve itself into a dew! Or that the everlasting had not fixed his cannon 'gainst self-slaughter! O God, God, how weary, stale, flat, and unprofitable seem to me all the uses of this world! Fie on it, ah, fie! 'Tis an unweeded garden that grows to seed. Things rank and gross in nature possess it merely, that it should come to this. But 2 months dead, nay, not so much, not 2. So excellent a king, that was to this Hyperion to a satyr. So loving to my mother, that he might not beteem the winds of heaven visit her face too roughly. Heaven and earth must I remember. Why, she would hang on him as if increase of appetite had grown by what it fed on. And yet, within a month, let me not think on't. Frailty, thy name is woman. A little month, or ere those shoes were old with which she followed my poor father's body, like Niobe, all tears. Why she, even she, O God, a beast that once discourse of reason would have mourned longer, married with my uncle, my father's brother, but no more like my father than I to Hercules. Within a month, ere yet the salt of most unrighteous tears had left the flushing in her galled eyes, she married. O most wicked speed to post with such dexterity to incestuous sheets! It is not, nor it cannot come to good. But break my heart, for I must hold my tongue. End of Oh, that this too solid flesh would melt. From Hamlet, Act 1, Scene 2. This recording is in the public domain. How all occasions do inform against me. By Hamlet. From Hamlet, Act 4, Scene 4. By William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. How all occasions do inform against me and spur my dull revenge! What is a man, if his chief good and market of his time be but to sleep and feed? A beast no more. Sure, he that made us with such large discourse, looking before and after, gave us not that capability and godlike reason to fust in us unused. Now, whether it be bestial oblivion, or some craven scruple of thinking too precisely on the event, a thought which, quartered, hath but 1 part wisdom, and ever 3 parts coward. I do not know why yet I live to say this thing's to do, sith I have cause, and will, and strength, and means to do it. Examples gross as earth exhort me. Witness this army of such mass and charge, led by a delicate and tender prince, whose spirit, with divine ambition puffed, makes mouths at the invisible event, exposing what is mortal and unsure to all that fortune, death, and danger dare, even for an eggshell. Rightly to be great is not to stir without great argument, but greatly to find quarrel in a straw when honour's at the stake. How stand I, then, that have a father killed, a mother stained, excitements of my reason and my blood, and let all sleep, while to my shame I see the imminent death of 20,000 men, that for a fantasy and trick of fame go to their graves like beds, fight for a plot whereon the numbers cannot try the cause, which is not tomb enough and continent to hide the slain. Oh, from this time forth my thoughts be bloody, or be nothing worth. End of How All Occasions Do Inform Against Me, from Hamlet, Act 4, Scene 4. This recording is in the public domain. You common cry of curs whose breath I hate, by Coriolanus, from Coriolanus, Act 3, Scene 3, by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. You common cry of curs, whose breath I hate as reek of the rotten fens, whose loves I prize as the dead carcasses of unburied men that do corrupt my air, I banish you, and here remain with your uncertainty. Let every feeble rumour shake your hearts. Your enemies, with nodding of their plumes, fan you into despair, have the power still to banish your defenders, till at length your ignorance, which finds not till it feels, making not reservation of yourselves, still your own foes deliver you as most abated captives to some nation that won you without blows, despising for you the city. Thus I turn my back. There is a world elsewhere. End of You Common Cry of Curs Whose Breath I Hate, from Coriolanus, Act 3, Scene 3. This recording is in the public domain.
The Death of Falstaff, by Mistress Quickly, from Henry V, Act 2, Scene 3, by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Kelly Taylor.
Nay, sure, he's not in hell. He's in Arthur's bosom. If e'er a man went to Arthur's bosom, he made a finer end, and went away, had it been any Christian child. They parted even just between 12 and 1, e'en at the turning of the tide, for after I saw him fumble with the sheets, and play with flowers, and smile upon his finger's end, I knew there was but one way, for his nose was as sharp as a pen, and he babbled of green fields. How now, Sir John, quoth I, what man, be of good cheer? So he cried out, God, 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 3 or 4 times. Now I, to comfort him, bid he should not think of God. I hope there was no need for him to trouble himself with any such thoughts yet. So he bade me lay more clothes on his feet. I put my hand to the bed and felt 'em, and they were as cold as any stone. Then I felt to his knees, and they were as cold as any stone, and so upward and upward, and all were as cold as any stone.
End of The Death of Falstaff, from Henry V, Act 2, Scene 3. This recording is in the public domain.
Oh, for a Muse of Fire by Chorus from Henry V, Act 1, Scene 1 by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Mike Manolakes. Oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention, a kingdom for a stage, princes to act, and monarchs to behold the swelling scene. Then should the warlike Harry, like himself, assume the port of Mars, and at his heels, leashed in like hounds, should famine, sword, and fire crouch for employment. But pardon and gentles all, the flat, unraised spirits that have dared on this unworthy scaffold to bring forth so great an object. Can this cockpit hold the vasty fields of France? Or may we cram within this wooden O the very casks that did affright the air at Agincourt? Oh, pardon, since a crooked figure may attest in little place 1,000,000, and let us, ciphers to this great accompt, on your imaginary forces work. Suppose within the girdle of these walls are now confined 2 mighty monarchies, whose high upreared and abutting fronts the perilous narrow ocean parts asunder. Piece out our imperfections with your thoughts, into 1,000 parts divide on man, and make imaginary puissance. Think when we talk of horses that you see them, printing their proud hoofs in the receiving earth. For 'tis your thoughts that now must deck our kings, carry them here and there, jumping over times, turning the accomplishment of many years into an hourglass. For the which supply, admit me, chorus, to this history, who, prologue-like, your humble patience pray, gently to hear, kindly to judge, our play. End of Oh, for a Muse of Fire from Henry V, Act 1, Scene 1. This recording is in the public domain. Nay, you shall hear, Master Brooke, by Falstaff, from The Merry Wives of Windsor, Act 4, Scene 1, by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Mike Manolakes. Nay, you shall hear, Master Brooke, what I have suffered to bring this woman to evil for your good. Being thus crammed in the basket, a couple of Ford's knaves, his hinds, were called forth by their mistress to carry me in the name of foul clothes to Datchet Lane. They took me on their shoulders, met the jealous knave their master in the door, who asked them once or twice what they had in their basket. I quaked for fear lest the lunatic knave would have searched it, but fate, ordaining he should be a cuckold, held his hand. Well, on went he for a search, and away went I for foul clothes. But mark the sequel, Master Brooke. I suffered the pangs of 3 several deaths. First, an intolerable fright, to be detected with a jealous rotten bellwether. Next, to be compassed like a good bilbo in the circumference of a peck, hilt to point, heel to head, and then to be stopped in like a strong distillation with stinking clothes that fretted in their own grease. Think of that! A man of my kidney! Think of that! Then am as subject to heat as butter? A man of continual dissolution and thaw? It was a miracle to escape suffocation. And in the height of this bath, when I was more than half stewed in grease like a Dutch dish, to be thrown into the Thames, and cooled, glowing hot in that surge, like a horseshoe. Think of that! Hissing hot! Think of that, Master Brooke! End of Nay, You Shall Hear, Master Brooke, from The Merry Wives of Windsor, Act 4, Scene 1. This recording is in the public domain.
What a Fool Honesty Is, by Autolycus from The Winter's Tale, Act 4, Scene 3, by William Shakespeare, read in English from LibriVox.org by donovandrowse. Ha ha! What a fool honesty is! And trust, his sworn brother, a very simple gentleman. I have sold all my trumpery, not a counterfeit stone, not a ribbon, glass, pomander, brooch, table book, ballad, knife, tape, glove, shoe tie, bracelet, horn ring, to keep my pack from fasting. They throng who should buy first, as if my trinkets had been hallowed and brought a benediction to the buyer. By which means I saw whose purse was best in picture. And what I saw, to my good use, I, 2,565, remembered. My clown, who wants but something to be a reasonable man, grew so in love with the wench's song that he would not stir his petitos till he had both tune and words, which so drew the rest of the herd to me that all their other senses stuck in their ears. You might have pinched a placket. It was senseless. 'Twas nothing to geld a codpiece of a purse. I could have filed keys off that hung in chains. No hearing, no feeling, but my sir's song, and admiring the nothing of it. So that in this time of lethargy I picked and cut most of their festival purses. And had not the old man come in with a whoobub against his daughter and the king's son, and scared my chops from the chaff, I had not left a purse alive in the whole army. End of What a Fool Honesty Is, from The Winter's Tale, Act 4, Scene 3. This recording is in the public domain. Recording by donovandrowse.
The Raven Himself is Hoarse by Lady Macbeth, from Macbeth, Act 1, Scene 5 by William Shakespeare, read in English for LibriVox.org by Kelly Taylor. The raven himself is hoarse, that croaks the fatal entrance of Duncan under my battlements. Come, you spirits, that tend on mortal thoughts, unsex me here, and fill me from crown to toe top full of direst cruelty. Make thick my blood, stop up the access and passage to remorse, that no compunctious visitings of nature shake my fell purpose, nor keep peace between the effect and it. Come to my woman's breast, and take my milk for gall, you murdering ministers, where'er in your sightless substances you wait upon nature's mischief. Come, thick night, and pall thee in the dunnest smokes of hell, that my keen knife see not the wound it makes, nor heaven peep through the blanket of the dark to cry, hold, hold. End of The Raven Himself is Hoarse, from Macbeth, Act 1, Scene 5. This recording is in the public domain.
This is the excellent foppery of the world by Edmund from King Lear, Act 1, Scene 2 by William Shakespeare, read in English for LibriVox.org by Cavaet. This is the excellent foppery of the world, that, when we are sick in fortune, often the surfeit of our own behaviour, we make guilty of our disasters the sun, the moon, and the stars, as if we were villains on necessity, fools by heavenly compulsion, knaves, thieves, and treachers by spherical predominance, drunkards, liars, and adulterers by an enforced obedience of planetary influence, and all that we are evil in by divine thrusting on. An admirable evasion of whoremaster man, to lay his goatish disposition to a charge of a star. My father compounded with my mother under the dragon's tail, and my nativity was under Ursa Major, so that it follows that I am rough and lecherous. But I should have been that I am, had the maidenliest star in the firmament twinkled on my bastardizing. End of This is the excellent foppery of the world, from King Lear, Act 1, Scene 2. This recording is in the public domain.
Wherefore, why doth not every earthly thing? By Leonato, from Much Ado About Nothing, Act 4, Scene 1, by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Mike Manolakes. Wherefore? Why doth not every earthly thing cry shame upon her? Could she here deny the story that is printed in her blood? Do not live, hero. Do not ope thine eyes. For did I think thou wouldst not quickly die, thought I thy spirits were stronger than thy shames, myself would, on the rearward of reproaches, strike at thy life. Grieved I had but one. Chid I for that at frugal nature's frame? A one too much by thee. Why had I one? Why ever wast thou lovely in my eyes? Why had I not with charitable hand took up a beggar's issue at my gates? Who, smirched thus and mired with infamy, I might have said, no part of it is mine. This shame derives itself from unknown loins. But mine, and mine I loved, and mine I praised, and mine that I was proud on, mine so much that I myself was to myself not mine, valuing of her. Why, she is fallen into a pit of ink, that the wide sea hath drops too few to wash her clean again, and salt too little, which may season give to her foul, tainted flesh. End of Wherefore, Why Doth Not Every Earthly Thing, from Much Ado About Nothing, Act 4, Scene 1. This recording is in the public domain.
Come, Poor Babe, by Antigonus, from The Winter's Tale, Act 3, Scene 3, by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Andrew Gaunce. Come, poor babe. I have heard, but not believed, the spirits of the dead may walk again. If such thing be, thy mother appeared to me last night, for ne'er was a dream so like a waking. To me comes a creature, sometimes her head on one side, some another. I never saw a vessel of like sorrow, so filled and so becoming. In pure white robes, like very sanctity, she did approach my cabin where I lay, thrice bowed before me, and gasping to begin some speech, her eyes became two spouts. The fury spent, anon did this break from her. Good Antigonus, since fate against thy better disposition hath made thy person for the thrower out of my poor babe according to thine oath, places remote enough are in Bohemia. There weep and leave it crying, and for the babe is counted lost forever. Perdita, I prithee call it. For this ungentle business put on thee by my lord, thou ne'er shalt see thy wife Paulina more. And so with shrieks she melted into air. Affrighted much, I did in time collect myself, and thought this was so, and no slumber. Dreams are toys. Yet for this once, yea, superstitiously, I will be squared by this. I do believe Hermione hath suffered death, and that Apollo would, this being indeed the issue of King Polixenes, it should here be laid, either for life or death, upon the earth of its right father. Blossoms, speed thee well. There lie, and there thy character. There these, which may, if fortune please, both breed thee, pretty, and still rest thine. The storm begins. Poor wretch, that for thy mother's fault art thus exposed to loss and what may follow. Weep I cannot, but my heart bleeds, and most accursed am I to be by oath enjoined to this. Farewell. The day frowns more and more. Thou art like to have a lullaby too rough. I never saw the heavens so dim by day. A savage clamor. Well may I get aboard. This is the chase. I am gone forever. End of Come Poor Babe from The Winter's Tale, Act 3, Scene 3. This recording is in the public domain.
Oh, what a rogue and peasant slave am I, by Hamlet, from Hamlet, Act 2, Scene 2, by William Shakespeare. Read in English for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Oh, what a rogue and peasant slave am I! Is it not monstrous that this player here, but in a fiction, in a dream of passion, could force his soul so to his own conceit, that from her working all his visage wanned, tears in his eyes, distraction in his aspect, a broken voice, and his whole function suiting with forms to his conceit, and all for nothing. For Hecuba. What's Hecuba to him, or he to Hecuba, that he should weep for her? What would he do had he the motive and the cue for passion that I have? He would drown the stage with tears, and cleave the general ear with horrid speech, make mad the guilty, and appall the free, confound the ignorant, and amaze indeed the very faculties of eyes and ears. Yet I, a dull, unmuddy mettled rascal, peak like John a Dreams, unpregnant of my cause, and can say nothing, no, not for a king upon whose property and most dear life a damned defeat was made. Am I a coward? Who calls me villain, breaks my pate across, plucks off my beard and blows it in my face, tweaks me by the nose, gives me the lie of the throat as deep as to the lungs? Who does me this? Ha! Swounds, I should take it, for it cannot be but I am pigeon-livered and lack gall to make oppression bitter, or ere this I should have fatted all the region kites with this slave's offal. Bloody, bawdy, villain, remorseless, treacherous, lecherous, kindless, villain. Oh, vengeance! Why, what an ass am I! This is most brave, that I, the son of a dear father murthered, prompted to my revenge by heaven and hell, must, like a whore, unpack my heart with words, and fall a-cursing like a very drab, a scullion, fie upon it, foe, about my brain. Ha! I have heard that guilty creatures sitting at a play have by the very cunning of the scene been struck so to the soul, that presently they have proclaimed their malefactions. For Murther, though it have no tongue, will speak with most miraculous organ. I'll have these players play something like the Murther of my father, before mine uncle. I'll observe his looks, I'll tent him to the quick. If he but blench, I know my course. The spirit that I have seen may be a devil, and the devil hath power to assume a pleasing shape. Yea, and perhaps out of my weakness and my melancholy, as he is very potent with such spirits, abuses me, to damn me. I'll have grounds more relative than this. The play's the thing, wherein I'll catch the conscience of the king. End of Oh, what a rogue and peasant slave am I! From Hamlet, Act 2, Scene 2. This recording is in the public domain.